Namaste, everybody. We are going to start the 10th session on Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. As we have been saying, this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad from Shukla Yajurveda has a lot of very famous mantras. Mantras that are quoted by not only spiritual teachers, but by even motivational speakers or those who instruct audiences on right human values. In this session, which is the 10th on this October 8th, we have a very well-known mantra, but I must hasten to add, this mantra is on a higher plateau than many others. This mantra is in fact the forerunner to the highest illumination. By forerunner, what I mean is, if someone fully grasps the significance of this neti neti, it is just one step before all avidya is dismantled. Many other mantras could prepare our mind. They could touch upon stages. They could touch upon steps on the path to spiritual illumination. This is a sort of the last step. And this mantra, neti neti, that is the phrase which becomes a part of a larger mantra, is within the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad itself found at 5 places. It is in chapter 2, in chapter 3, that is what we will be seeing, and 3 times it occurs on different occasions in chapter 4 of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which has 6 chapters. In chapter 2, called Madhukanda, there is a section Brahmana called Murta Murta Brahmana. Murta means something that has a shape. Amurta means no shape, no form, no boundary. And the highest reality cannot be put in either the box of Murta or the box of Amurta. In that context, the highest truth is to be known by dismissing, negating both Murta and Amurta, or that sense of pairs, sense of duality, sense of everything should belong to either this camp or that camp. To dismiss that thinking, neti neti is employed. Then in the 3rd chapter, we have 9 people questioning sage Yajnavalkya. To be precise, it is 8, but I call it 9 because there are 9 occasions, one after another, where somebody or the other comes forward and asks a question. And then why is it 8? The lady among those 9, namely Gargi, makes 2 appearances. Therefore, running into 9 Brahmanas in this 3rd chapter, we have 8 of them coming 9 times. In the last 9th Brahmana of the 3rd chapter, Adhyaya, we have a very learned Vedic scholar called Vidagdha Shakalya. He dares defy Yajnavalkya. He somehow, wisely or unwisely, the latter being more likely, gathers his courage to question, to challenge Yajnavalkya. That conversation between Vidagdha Shakalya, the last one to pose a challenge to Yajnavalkya in the gathering that King Janaka had put together, the whole matter ends on a tragic note. Taken literally, Vidagdha Shakalya's head falls on the earth. He dies. Without taking it literally, if that expression is to be interpreted on the basis of some symbolism, I would say Vidagdha Shakalya, by indulging in impertinent and inappropriate way of challenging a very true, genuine, realized man like Yajnavalkya, cannot do any harm to Yajnavalkya. Rather, Vidagdha Shakalya's head falls, not literally, his head gets damaged. Head gets so polluted, he gets carried away by wrong thinking. Like somebody could come from a wonderful background, but because of some unhealthy influences, this person could adopt or accept wrong philosophies. Then also we say his head is gone. So it may not be a physical falling of the head. Therefore, that mantra where this neti neti appears says towards the end that the head of Vidagdha Shakalya fell and some thieves came and took away that head. That also need not be taken literally. It can also mean that various schools of thought in the world which are not correct impress this man and as though hijack him. So how people become atheists, how people become materialists, how people begin to have varieties of prejudices, but believing that they have right thinking. All that is a case of head gone. Anyhow, in the third chapter, in the 9th Brahmana, we have this mantra. We will return to it very soon. In the 4th chapter, in a certain section, 2nd Brahmana, 4th mantra also has neti neti, and that is where Yajnavalkya teaches Janaka. Janaka was a very worthy student. Yajnavalkya helps him go to heights of contemplation, see the truth in great clarity. And then Yajnavalkya says to him, now let go. Negation is letting go. Let go of the last traces of identification. The beautiful part of this section is how Yajnavalkya says to Janaka, noticing that Janaka does it. Janaka drops. Janaka lets go of numerous identifications, noticing that the teacher Yajnavalkya is mighty pleased. And we have the mantra over there, 4.2.4, Yajnavalkya saying, O Janaka, abhayam vai Janaka praptosi. You have arrived at utter fearlessness. In this state of mind, in this jnana-nishta, you will have nothing to fear here onwards. Abhayam praptah asi, O Janaka, is found in that same mantra. Then you have the 4th occurrence in the 4th chapter itself, in the 4th Brahmana, 22nd mantra, where also we have neti neti. Again in the 4th chapter, 5th Brahmana, 15th mantra re-narrates the story of Maitreyi, Katyayani and Yajnavalkya. And while in the second chapter there was no mention of Neti, in this fourth chapter, in the Maitreyi Yajnavalkya Samvada, Neti is mentioned. Otherwise, we had seen in one of the earlier classes, Yajnavalkya instructs Maitreyi on Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. He declares that acquisition of wealth cannot lead to Amritattva, immortality. Yajnavalkya teaches Maitreyi how all love in the world actually is nothing but love of the self. And if only one inquires into the self, who am I? One comes upon the pure self, and the pure self is of the nature of happiness. No wonder everyone loves oneself the most. I'm repeating those 2 or 3 aspects. There are many more in that Yajnavalkya Maitreyi Samvada. I'm repeating 3 or 4 significant portions because all of them occur again in the 5th Brahmana of the 4th Adhyaya. But what is added, what is additional is the Neti. With this, we will go into the mantra. There again, the whole mantra is much larger, but that selected portion of the mantra in which again the further sharp focus you find Neti. So let's go to a title slide at this moment where Neti is highlighted and the basic meaning is given. Let's see the very first slide. The 10th class on Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, this day, October 8, 2021. To make matters simple, we have put it in English. Negate all that you are not. On the higher plateau of Vedanta, there is absolutely no need to define the truth. You negate falsehood, you will discover that what remains is the truth. It's only on lower planes that both Vidhi and Nisheda become applicable. Vidhi means to define something positively. In moral science, Vidhi is instructions on what to do. Nisheda is dismissing what truth is not. And in moral science, Nisheda is mentioning what you should not do. What you ought to do, what you ought not to do on the moral plane. But on the philosophical plane of understanding the truth, to define truth is this, describe would be Vidhi, and truth is not that, to negate is Nisheda. I would once more repeat that on the highest plateau, there is no assertion, there is no definition. Truth is beyond the reach of language, of words. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha, says the Taittiriya Shruti. Therefore, even though there may be some words like Neti, the inner meaning of Neti is you just see what truth is not. You are not this, you are not that. I must admit at this point that our main context is realizing our true nature, the absolute truth. But for 2 minutes, I will come down to a simpler level. Even in daily life, when you and I are operating with some amount of ego, it is of great value to adopt the spirit of neti neti. Somebody tells you you are no good. You don't have to take that person's nasty comment on its face value. Even as that comment by some critic of yours tries to get into you and make you unhappy, you may reflect on neti neti and just reject that comment. Don't allow people to label you as bad, immoral, inefficient, lazy, good for nothing, sure to fail in life, won't reach anywhere. People will, you know, say something about you. That is their problem. Refuse to be defined by people's comments. That is neti neti. Likewise, don't get carried away by anybody's praise either. Somebody says, "Oh my God, I have never seen such a beautiful person like you are." They say you are beautiful, you are handsome, you are brilliant, you are smart, you are next only to Vivekananda or Einstein, you are next only to Ma Anandamayi or Madam Curie. Some such comment they will make. You and I, in our ignorance, tend to take these comments seriously. When I was in high school, there was a boy, my classmate, and some of us, just to make him happy, said to him, "You know, when we see you from a side especially, you look so much like Amitabh Bachchan." He was so happy, he gave us a party next day. He felt so good that we said he looked like Amitabh Bachchan. So we enjoyed the treat he gave the next day. But if you are so susceptible to people's comments, one day their comments will make you happy, another day their comments will make you very sad. Do not allow either comments of people or the comments from your own within based on some memory to define you. Say to yourself in the spirit of Vedanta, at best, these descriptions are partly true, relatively true, or they are true in a passing manner. They are not the truth. I might have failed in some matter last week, but last week is not all of my life. My life is vastly larger than last week of 7 days. I must have succeeded last month in some enterprise, and these guys are telling me I am always going to be successful. May not. Therefore, do not be affected by the comments or the labels that people put on you. That could be a day-to-day interpretation of neti neti. Have two baskets. People praise you, put all their praise in one basket. Some people criticize you left and right, put all those criticism in the second basket. Then saying neti neti, throw both these baskets into the nearest pond or river. Negate, negate, and mind your business in the present moment. Negate the past, negate the projected future, negate your likes and dislikes, negate all colored perception, negate and dismiss all bias, all prejudice. Then what happens? Will you turn into a table or chair, into some vegetable? No, never forget that when you negate the false, on the highest plane, the truth remains. Even on a day-to-day plane, you regain what is called objectivity. You will see things as they are. You will see people as they are. You will be impartial. You will look at all human beings with objectivity, not imposing, superimposing on them some idea that was pumped into you. You will not unduly generalize, saying Europeans are like this and Indians are like that and Chinese are like this. Sweeping generalizations are not true. You will be looking at any community, any single person, etc., with certain care. Neti neti is the dismissal of any careless conclusion. You will see things, you will see places, you will see people the way they are. That is really beautiful. Now let us go back to the original context of Brahma-jnana. Therefore, here in this mantra, Yajnavalkya says to Vidagdha Shakalya, who perhaps was still having some kind of negative sentiment against Yajnavalkya, even as he hears all this, unfortunately, this doesn't go into him, and therefore he loses his head. His head is stolen by thieves, as the mantra literally says, which I have already interpreted, taking a symbolic stance. All right. The mantra we are going to see in this 10th session is just this much. I've already said to you, this is not the whole 26th mantra. The 26th mantra is a bit larger, but what is of relevance to this 10th session this evening in India or morning in the West is what we have given here. Sa esha, this. Sa means that and esha means this. So in some previous paragraphs, there was a reference to that Brahman, and presently there is a discussion on this truth. So call it that or call it this. Sa esha, what we talked of earlier, that takes us to a distance, and what we are discussing now, that is esha, present. Therefore, two pronouns, that and this, come together. That or this Brahman is to be known, is implied. Na iti, na iti. Neti, of course, is made of two words. Na iti. Na is the negation. Na iti, na iti. Adharma is proposed, you say na. And when dharma is proposed, say yes. Isn't it true that even in simple definitions of right living, what is most important is to say yes where a yes is wise, and to say no where to say no is wise. Foolish people say yes when they have to say no, and they say no when they have to say yes. That would amount to complicating life. Coming back, Sa Esha Atma, Atma is what Sa and Esha refer to, is to be known by a powerful negation, double negation, that is all that is gross and all that is subtle, all that is visible, all that is invisible too, all that is concrete and all that is rather of a refined nature. For why dismiss all? Why dismiss everything? Because the Atma can never be visualized, can never be depicted. You cannot say it is round or square. You cannot say it is long or short. You cannot say it is success or failure. Therefore, as Maharshi Ramana would say, question who am I till the last trace of an idea about yourself remains. Let that also go. When all ideas, when all notions, when all thoughts about who you are negated, that is when you will arrive at in the intuitive understanding of who you really are. Therefore, to represent dismissal of everything, it is mentioned twice. Na iti, na iti. The gross and the subtle. Then agrahyaha. It cannot be held by organs of action, like holding something by a hand. And in an extended sense, it cannot be held or grasped by sense organs or the mind or the intellect, etc. Nahi grihyate, cannot be held. Ashiryaha, visharana means breaking down, getting torn to pieces. Visharana, the same dhatu is in this word, ashiryaha. Na shiryate, doesn't break down, doesn't go into pieces, doesn't get dissembled. First of all, it is not assembled. What is assembled can be dissembled. But if something is never assembled, that means it has no parts at all. You will see Adi Shankara explaining very logically how the pure self simply cannot be subject to any kind of deterioration. Asangaha. When you realize who you are, you will laugh. Earlier you were afraid of attachment. Oh my God, what if I get attached to money, to woman, to man, to land, property, to fame, to name? I hope I won't come under the power of Maya. One is afraid. But in the clearest understanding of who you are, you will laugh because you say, getting attached is an impossibility now that I know who I am. Like in that humorous story where somebody mistook himself to be a mouse and was afraid of cats. If he comes to know he is not a mouse, I am a man, he realizes, then he just cannot be afraid of cats. When you know you are a man, why should you be afraid of cats? When you know your wealth, when you know your status, when you know your knowledge, when you have clear knowledge of your capacities, why would you be afraid of some paltry thing, some peanut? You will not. You are so free of fear. So Asanga is like that. If you know your true nature, then you don't require willpower, you don't require decision, you don't require what they call being cautious, being alert, etc. Therefore, this Jnana Nishta is something extraordinary. Asangaha na sajyate. All along we were advised, don't get attached, practice detachment, etc. But on the high plateau, the Guru almost says the opposite. Okay, try to get attached, let me see whether you can. The Guru smiles. With the kind of clear knowledge you have received, it's not possible to get attached. Nahi sajyate. Asitaha na vyathate. Some of you may remember the Kathopanishad mantra. Shreyascha preyascha purushagam sinitaha. There is a verbal root si. Si. Si becomes in verbal form sinoti, sinutaha, sinvanti. Shreyascha preyascha purushagam sinitaha bandham kurutaha. So si dhatu has the meaning to bind. Sitaha means something that is bound. Asitaha means something by its very nature is not bound. And when something is not bound, there is no grief, there is no sorrow. Therefore, na vyatate. Because it is asita, unbound, therefore it is free of grief. And finally, na rishyati. It doesn't undergo or suffer any injury. Let's quickly see the English meanings of this mantra, that this self, Atma, is to be known through not muttering these words, not this, not this. It's not a verbal affair. It is the arising of clear insight. I am not this. Like the simple example goes, somebody mistakes you for Lalita, while you actually are Sukanya. Somebody, you clearly see, she is mistaking me from Lalita. And she comes and is very angry. How could you do this? How did you say this to so and so? Why did you go yesterday to Mysore? And you told you did not go to Mysore, but you went to Mysore. I know, blah, 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 blah. That other person is shouting at you. Then you realize, okay, I think she is mistaking me to be Lalita. Lalita went to Mysore and told a few friends that she had not left Bangalore, and that was a lie. So I understand why she is angry, but the problem is, I am not Lalita. She should go to Lalita and take her to task. I am Sukanya. So just as that clarity that I am not the person keeping whom in mind this person is shouting, you are unaffected. When the other person calms down, you say, please listen, I think you mistook me for Lalita and are therefore angry. I understand your scenario, but I am not Lalita. I am Sukanya. Like that, a whole lot of fear, anger, sorrow, etc. revolve around the personality, and all along you mistook yourself to be the personality. But neti, you clearly see, I am not this body. Why should I worry if the body is sick or the body dies? I am not this mind. I am not this personality. Therefore, time and again we realize the significance of Maharshi Ramana's Who Am I inquiry. All those thousands and thousands of thoughts that we have about ourselves, which do not spare us even when we go to the so-called spirituality. When you were worldly, you worried you are not making enough money. Now in so-called spirituality, you keep worrying, my meditation is not progressing. My Vedanta study is not going ahead very well. I don't think I have overcome anger or lust or something. So you go on labeling yourself. And one fine day for a change, you say, today my meditation was so good. I am now advancing. Maharshi Ramana would say, both the kinds of thoughts, I am not advancing, which made you sorrowful, and now I am advancing well, are not the real you. The real you is ever free. Then what is all this going on? I feel very low some days. Once in 10 days, I feel good. Again, next 10 days, I am low. This low, this high, etc. are a play of the mind. That is Vedanta. Not this, not this. So therefore, dismiss, negate. Not just by saying these words, that a parrot also can say. You need to have the understanding of the Vedanta. Being ungraspable, it is not held. Being not subject to decay, it does not decay. Nashiryate, ashiryam, ashiryaha. Then being by very nature unattached, asangaha, na sajjate. It never gets attached. Then who got attached? That is the interesting question. If you say, I was so attached to my wife for so many years, now finally I am able to, I love her, but I am not attached. I am able to purify my love, freeing it from attachment, blah, blah. You have read a lot of things, you say that. But the question is, who was attached for many years and who claims that he is now detached? The one that was attached also is a bundle of thoughts. The ego is a bundle of memories. The ego is a bundle of conclusions about who you are. I am so and so, I am attached to my wife. Like that, there are a few thoughts. And those thoughts give a reality to that entity. Actually, that entity is false. Inquire. So the one who got attached was part of the illusion. And of course, what you got attached to, gold, name and fame, some property, that is also part of the adhyaropa, adhyasa, part of the superimposed illusion. Therefore, it never gets attached and unbound. So you have asitaha. See, somewhere else, sita can mean white, asita can mean black. Asita giri samam syat kajjalam sindhu patre. Kajjalam sindhu patram and so on. You have a shloka in Shiva Mahimna Stotra. A mountain of black or blue powder. Asita giri. There, sita is white, asita is black. There, it's a different derivation. Here, sita is bound, asita is unbound. Na vyatate, never gets or comes under grief. Na rishyate, it doesn't get injured. Now we see Adi Shankara's commentary on this mantra, as we have been doing in these classes. The letters in red are, mind you, from the original mantra of the Upanishad. The remaining black words are what Adi Shankara says about the words of the Moola mantra. This evening, an hour ago actually, I did a little preparation for this class, and I used, because I am traveling, I am in Delhi today, I used the website advaitasharada.com.sringeri.com of Sringeri Shankaramata. And I looked a little at other things they have given. At the end of that beautiful website, for each text, like for Brihadaranyaka, they have given Moola Mantra, Shankara Bhashya, etc. At the end of all that, they have given just the Moola. If you want to read only the Moola Mantra without Shankara Bhashya, you can, or with Shankara, that's okay. And there's an Anukramanika. I checked it out. Alphabetical order, all the mantras have been listed. So I was curious. I never had counted how many mantras Brihadaranyaka has. So I took a look at the list. I wrote down 441 mantras. Compare it with Ishavasya, which has only 18 mantras, 18. Or Kathopanishad or Mundakopanishad, about 100 each. In fact, Mundakopanishad has less, Kathopanishad has a little more. So 60, 100, 120, etc. All right. Brihadaranyaka is not 100, 200, 441, and there again some mantras are so long, no wonder we call it Brihat. All right. Sayeshaha, Sayaha, Neti Neti. In brackets we have put the first occurrence of this negation was in the second chapter. What we are presently seeing is the third chapter, 9th section, 26th mantra. But before, in the second chapter, 3rd Brahmana, 6th mantra also had said this, right? 2, 3, 6. Though second chapter later has, in the fourth Brahmana, you have Yajnavalkya Maitreyi Samvada. Neti Neti is not found in that portion. While, as I had said before, in the fourth chapter, fifth Brahmana, embedded in Yajnavalkya Maitreyi Samvada, you get Neti Neti. It's all right. Adi Shankara says, referring to second chapter, third Brahmana, iti nirdishtaha madhukande. Call it madhukanda, call it murta Brahmana. Yesha saha. Sa esha neti neti. Soyam. Saha is so, and Yesha becomes ayam. Atma. That is the pure self. The true I. Agrahyaha, nagrahyaha. Katham, why do you say the pure self cannot be grasped? Shankara gives a logical explanation. Yasmat sarva karya dharma atitaha. Karya means effect. Whatever has come out as an effect of some process, that is generally graspable. You can catch it. But what never is an effect. Therefore, it is agrahyaha. Yasmat nahi grahyate. He further explains, yaddi karana gocharam. Before you think of catching something, first you must be able to see it. You see a mouse and then run after it and somehow capture it. First you should say, hey, here is a mouse. Here is a book. You pick it up. Here is a door. You open it. Here is a hat. You wear it. So first you must become karana gochara, through eyes or ears or nose or tongue or skin. But Brahma is not karana gochara. Yaddi karana gocharam vyakritam vastu. Vyakrita means that which has manifest itself. Vyakarana. Vyakarana elsewhere is grammar. But etymologically, Vyakarana is how sounds, words, sentences, etc. can properly manifest. Properly, if they are put together, they bring out a coherent meaning. So grammar is all about bringing out coherent meanings. When you write something according to proper grammar, the other side also understands the way you wanted them to understand. Otherwise, you said something, but because your grammar was all upside down, the other party may misunderstand. If you give a gap at wrong places, what is that? There is a Hindi joke. Somebody in good old days sent a telegram. Dadaji Ajmer gaye, he wrote. But in the telegram, some gaps were created and slight distortion. Dadaji, grandfather, Aaj mar gaye, it became. Grandfather died today. So relatives started pouring in. So Ajmer gaye, Ajmer being a place in Rajasthan, Aaj mar gaye became. Similar problems in all languages. Whereas if grammar is taken care of, then there is no communication gap. So grammar is Vyakarana, right manifestation. Sounds, syllables, words, sentences. Therefore they call them semantics and syntax. When semantics and syntax are all properly handled, there is communication. But here Vyakritam is anything becoming manifest, can be grasped, can be held or touched or smelled or tasted or picked up, etc. Tad grahana gocharam. Idam tu tad viparitam. Idam tattvam, that is Atma, is not karana gochara. It's not perceptible by any sense organ. Therefore, Mundaka Upanishad had said it. Some of us had studied, covered the Mundaka Upanishad in this very lecture series. Yat tadadresham agrahya gotram avarnam achakshu shrotram, etc. There also it was said agrahyam, agotram, negation. In fact, neti neti was done there. The words neti neti did not come in that mantra of the very first khanda of the first mundaka. Yattadadreshyam, agrahyam, agotram, avarnam, achakshushrottram, apanipadam. Is negation, right? Lavanam means salty. Alavanam means not salty, right? Jnaha means a knowledgeable person. Ajnaha. When you add it is negation. And in that mantra of Mundaka Upanishad, adreshyam, agrahyam, agotram, avarnam, apanipadam, etc., all negation. So neti neti was done there without saying neti neti. Therefore, Atma Tattva is tad viparitam. It's different from millions of things, grass or subtle, that you know in this phenomenal universe. Now, in the last slide for the for the session, tata ashiryaha. Shiryaha means that which is subject to sharana, visharana. Some of you may remember Adi Shankara explains the very word Upanishad as made of two prepositions, upa and ni, and one verbal root, sad. And for that verbal root, sad, he gives three meanings. Gati, avasadana, and visharana. Over there, visharana means breaking something into parts. Upanishad is what breaks into parts. Okay, what does it break? Upanishad breaks into parts our egoistic existence. Upanishad will break our worldly life so that we get elevated to spiritual life. Our worldliness, our idiocy, our stupidity, our false attachments are all torn to pieces, torn to smithereens, as they call. That is Visharana. But Atma does not get torn to pieces. Shankara gives simple logic. Yad hi murtam. Whatever has a certain form or shape, and what is more, samhatam. Science has found out that even an atom, in the beginning they thought that is the ultimate. Then they saw that atom also has protons, neutrons, electrons. Protons, neutrons, electrons put together, samhata, sanghata, means putting together, becomes the atom. And no wonder all atoms, slowly or taking their own time, break down. Those atoms which break down, even as you are seeing them very quickly, are known to be radiating. Like radium, Marie Curie found out the phenomenon of atoms radiating energy on their own. And even as they radiate energy, they break down. Because energy is radiated when particles, subatomic particles, to begin with change states, energy states, and then leave that atom also. So what is samhata, what is put together? Like a table has 4 chairs. You and I can one fine Sunday morning take some hammer and the hacksaw or this saw or that saw and cut the legs, do anything. Something that has parts breaks down, but the Atma has no parts. Sharira Adi, which has parts, body and so on, tat shiryate. Ayam tu tad viparitaha, ataha nahi shiryate. Friends, all this is not just for intellectual discussion. When you contemplate on these, you will come upon a certain peace to begin with, but more than peace, you will come upon a new understanding of who you are. then your attachment, your aversion, your sorrow, your fear going away is like a side product. Right understanding of the pure self is the primary product, if at all we may call it a product. Really, it's not a product, it's your true nature, but in a manner of saying. And negative emotions leaving you is like a side product. Asangaha. Suppose something has a form, then it can get attached to another thing which also has a form. Like I take a mango and I take a jackfruit. Both have form, shape, boundary. I take the mango and hit the jackfruit, or I take jackfruit and hit the mango. Yadhi murtaha murtantarena sambadhyamana sajjate, or sajjate, gets attached. But imagine, I ask you, take that mango and don't hit the jackfruit. Take that mango and hit Akasha, space. Akasha has no form. You can't. Or why jackfruit and mango? There's a saying, two hands are needed for a clap. Two hands can come together, not just a clap, but they can be in each other's grasp, because both have form and shape. But with one hand, can you clap? If you say, with one hand, I will clap the space, Akasha. No sound. You can't grasp Akasha. Akasha won't grasp your hand. Likewise, Atma is free of or devoid of any form or shape. Therefore, nahi sajjate. Asitaha abaddaha. Because sinoti means to bind, to fetter. To be in fetters is to be bound. Sinoti, see. Then sita. Like minoti becomes mita. Janati becomes nata. So, sinoti, see, sita, bound. Asitaha, abaddaha, never bound. Acharya Shankara is giving us logical understanding, once more using what happens when something has a form. When something has a form, it can be bound. The formless cannot be bound. Yaddi murtam tad badyate. Ayam tu tad viparitatvat asitaha abaddaha abaddatvat, because it is never bound. Na vyatate. Some of us are in this world rich and powerful and famous also. We hardly have any shortage of anything, but still we feel bound. Why? We are bound by our thoughts. Thoughts say, I haven't become what I wanted to become. I haven't reached where I had to reach. I haven't yet settled in life. Blah, blah. Vedanta laughs at it. This is high plateau teaching. Don't mix it up in wrong context. But if someone can be on that plane of contemplation with full understanding, then this is not just talking, it is the reality. So, abaddatvat na vyatate, no sorrow at all. At the end of living 100 years, suppose a person who has pure self-knowledge recognizes that nobody came to him, came to know his knowledge. Nobody became a disciple. Nobody fell at his feet. Or if it is a lady, this 100-year-old lady realizes that my picture never came in newspapers. No television interviewed me. If she has enlightenment, she has absolutely no sorrow about it, because she does not care at all for name, fame, wealth, picture coming in newspaper, her being interviewed by a TV channel, and so on. Na vyathate. What do you mean 100 years and how can I live? How can I die now without being noticed? In self-knowledge, first of all, there is nothing called death. The body falls down, let it do so. There is no need to be famous. But you see, when we don't have clear Atma-jnana, leave alone the worldly life. Even when we become Vedanta teachers and so on, we are seeking name and fame. If not in whole of India, I live in Rajasthan, I want to be considered the best Vedanti in Rajasthan. Why not? If not whole Rajasthan, in this Udaipur, I should be the best Vedanta teacher. What is this I you are talking about? Is it the true I or is it a bundle of confusion? You will realize that the true I just does not need any recognition. And this is not to be taken in some wrong sense, that you become so hopeless, you live in some kind of slumber. Not desiring anything means you are half dead already. That is all misunderstanding. That's another extreme. There are people who say we have no desire, they are half dead. Vedanta is not about half dead people. Vedanta is about people who are fully alive. And as we have said often, it's like going up the hill and coming down on the other side. You have come down on the other side. Lastly, the mantra says, na rishyati. When there is grahana, na grihyate was said, or na shiryate, visharana, or sajyate, sangha, or sita, bandha. So, grahana, visharana, sangha, bandha, these are all karya, effects of some operations. Grahana, visharana, sangha, bandha, karya, dharma, rahitatvat. The Atma is free of all these attributes. Therefore, na rishyati, na himsam apadyate. It never undergoes any injury. Hinsa. Hinsa is being physically injured. Many of us seldom get physically injured, but we may get psychologically hurt every second day. Somewhere where we were expecting some good words, the other party did not say even a single thank you. We are hurt. Some other time, something else goes wrong. That is also hinsa. Na himsam apadyate na vinashyati is the meaning of na rishyati. Therefore, to get the right meaning of neti neti is to dismiss a whole lot of normal, usual operations which affect our thinking. And when that is negated, dismissed, we realize how all along we have been this Atma. But there was some mischievous, inexplicable play of thoughts. And it seemed we were bound. Bondage also was part of the illusion. Therefore, friends, contemplate on neti neti, contemplate on the profound comments of Adi Shankara, and gaining clarity about who you truly are, play your role in life. Nobody says you should walk away to Himalayas. Be engaged in any activity if you like, but carry in your heart of hearts this understanding that you are the pure self. Just do not repeat the words, I am the self, but being very alert, dismiss any thought that makes you believe you are bound in some way. It's a mischief of thought. Dismiss that thought by right understanding. Om Namah Paramarashibhyo, Namah Paramarashibhyaha.